Hey, this is Megan, and here is a kind of a mini video on how to set up a design where you're going to stitch the area after you stitch the design. So I'm going to pull up windmill block, but this works really well for any block that has the start and stop, that's your bullet points, on the outside edge in one of the corners. Okay. So now, setting up your block, you're going to do an area. So I am using my simulator. So you would just bring your machine to each corner of the block. I am starting in the upper left corner. Be very conscientious of where you start because that's where you want this stitching to end. So I'm just going to kind of move my machine around to create my area. This is not necessarily perfect, okay, but very realistic for piecing. So with my block, I know that the area starts right here, so I want the block ending to be up in that corner. So I'm going to modify and rotate the block until that starting point is in that corner. Hit my refresh button. That just brings my crosshairs, my design, and my area, everything I've got, into play. I'm going to baseline that since I did rotate the block, so I made some changes. Now I'm going to go to skew, that's in modify and skew, and I'm going to I can hit skew 1, but it doesn't always go to the corners if it's not really square, so I can hit border skew, and it pops the design into all 4 corners. I always do a visual check to make sure it looks good. And so then I can go to Pro Stitcher. Now when I go to quilt this block, normally we have our tie-offs at the beginning and the end. We have pull up on, sometimes pull up auto. In the beginning, you can have your pull up auto, which is where it takes a stitch, moves the machine over a bit, allows you to pull up your thread. I am going to turn this off for the second part of this stitching. So I'm going to turn off my tie-offs at the end because the sequence will be, I'm going to stitch this block, the machine comes back to this end, and so I don't want to tie off there because I'm going to then hit trace area. So at this point I can hit run and it will run my block. Okay. It's taking forever. So I'm going to hit cancel because my machine is not at the right spot. And I want to make sure my OptiStitch is set. And we played with this in a class yesterday. So here we go. So I'm going to hit resume. And it's pulling up. And I can hit resume. And it's stitching super slow. So we're going to pretend that I have now finished stitching the block. At the very end, it doesn't do a tie off at the end. So now our machine is at the very end. And I want to go to Pro Stitcher and I want to hit trace area. Now to trace the area, I don't need a tie off in the beginning. I do need one at the end, but I don't want it to pull up my thread and move the machine because the machine is already there and the stitching of the block has already happened. So now at this point, I can hit stitch, run, and proceed, and it can pull up the thread. You just hit resume. You don't move the machine at all. And it pause delay to trim the threads. I don't need to do that, so I can hit resume, and it will continue stitching my area. And then at the very end, it will do the tie-offs at the very end. It's a very cool feature. So at this point, it's doing the slow tie-offs, showing it on this simulator. So it's a pretty cool feature. So different blocks, I'm going to hit clear all and show a couple of blocks that it would work with. Open, I'm going to go to the and Brights. Denali 4 block, there's a start point at the end, so that one would work. If I go to, let's go to Christy Dillon, and let me see if this Destiny block would be appropriate. Well, no, because the start and stop is in the middle. So you would have to stop it. You could still stitch your area, but sometimes that might not necessarily be what you want because you'd have to break your thread. Still do it, it's just not as seamless. Okay, so look at different designs to see what might work. If I go to Deb Geisler, let's see if she has a block in there. I don't see a block in here. That would probably work. Sometimes you can use, let's see what that one looks like. Nope, it's in the middle. So you would look at blocks that had a start end at the corner, just like the windmill block, or even something like this corner center block, where it's something that starts and stops at the edge. Anyway, all right,